fire department today that weren't even born when this happened. And this is all about remembering those that lost their lives, that gave their lives that day. And it does my heart great to see this, because as long as I'm alive, I'm going to be telling people about it and keeping this going, because we've got to keep this alive in our hearts and alive in our brains so we can remember this until forever. So, that being said, I could have your attention for the presentation of the colors and the singing of Star Spangled Banner.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave.
I'd like to ask our Honorable Mayor Outlaw to come up and say a couple words.
Good morning to everyone. I would like to welcome each and every one of you here today. My thoughts this morning as we all unite together was about one common thing we all have, and that's the bell right here at the museum. There was a famous poet, or his name was Donnay, and later on Ernest Hemingway wrote a book about For Whom the Bell Tolls. And I think that's what each and every one of us are here today for, is the many individuals that lost their lives in 9/11. Ernest Hemingway helped to make the phrase commonplace during the Spanish-American War. And part of what he said there, which a later pastor embellished, so to speak, he said, first they came for the Jews, and I did not speak out, and that was because I was not a Jew. And then they came for the communists, and then I did not speak out because I was not a communist. And then they came for the trade unions, and I did not speak out because I was not a trade unionist. And then they came for me, and there was no one left to speak out for me. This bell in New Bern, long before there was the internet and the cell phones and the landlines and the televisions and the radios, there was no communication. And in a given city, the bell was so important. When you heard a bell toll, it was a wedding, a funeral, a fire, or a lot of other common things that were happening in a community. But the one thing that Ernest Hemingway was trying to say in For Whom the Bell Tolls, he was trying to say a couple points I needed to have enumerated. That no man is an island entire of itself, and each is a piece of the continent and a part of the main. And if a clod be washed away by the sea, this is from the original poem prior to Ernest Hemingway, Europe will be less, as well as if a matter of thine own or of thine friends were, each man's death diminishes me, for I am included in mankind. So therefore sin not to know for whom the bell tolls. It tolls for me. It tolls for thee. And so again, I think what I'm trying to get across today is that we are one island here. And I thank you, each and every one of you, for being here today and what you represent, and in remembrance of those who lost their life. And we as New Bernians, we have to prepare for what's in front of us. This is not a 10-year war or a 5-year war. It's not going to war with Japan and 20 years later being one of the main trade partners. It's not going to war with England and being one of the biggest allies we have. This is a war that, if there's a victory, there's really not, because until mankind can sit down and all of us toll the same bell, there'll be no peace. And so all the more reason why we as New Bernians and North Carolinians and Americans and people of the world, we got to figure out some means of communication. But we have to keep in mind that at the heart of all I say today are the first responders of America that put their lives forth for our protection. So that each and one of us can go to bed at night and knowing that we have security and knowing that we can wake up in the morning. And to the New Bern first responders, I dedicate this day. Thank you for letting me be with you.
beginning at 8:46 a.m. 20 years ago, our lives changed with American Airlines Flight 11. 17 minutes later, United Airlines Flight 175, followed by American Airlines Flight 77 at 9:37 a.m. And then the fourth and final flight, United Airlines Flight 93, crashing in the field near Shanksville, Pennsylvania at 10:03 a.m. And for the last 20 years, all of us, and I want to draw your attention to all of us, we have recognized year after year the anniversary dates of the horrid and tragic events of 9/11. Annually, we gather to pay tribute and cherish memories of those we lost. On behalf of the New Bern Fire and Rescue and the New Bern Police Departments, we gather again to honor the fallen of 9/11. We pay tribute to the 2,977 that were lost. There were 412 emergency workers who perished on behalf of responding to the World Trade Center buildings. They range from members of the New York Fire Patrol, New York State court officers, many private emergency medical services, and other emergency medical teams, the members of NYPD, and the Port Authority of New York and New Jersey police departments. And then, of course, we recognize the number etched in the minds of fire and rescue services across our nation, the number 343. All of whom I speak, and we remember today, made the ultimate sacrifice, and we are often reminded of the nature of not running from danger, but to enter into it, all for the good of our fellow man. And as stated over time, this is a chosen profession. It is simply what we do. Now, I would call your attention to one of my first statements a few moments ago. I particularly emphasized the word us, because on this 20th anniversary, we have all, not just a few, recognized the ultimate sacrifices of so many. As the events were such an impact to all of us, most will commonly refer to one particular subject matter or statement, if you will, when we find ourselves in a conversation with others regarding 9/11. And a particular point of interest applies to each of us. In other words, it's an individualistic set of thoughts or emotions that we may possess, each for his own. That particular phrase that the vast majority in conversations will always render is, quote, "I remember where I was and exactly what I was doing when I first heard the horrific news on September 11, 2001. Therefore, today I would remind each of you, yes, we cherish those who perished and forevermore will not forget. But it's also important to remember that a piece of our very own selves was also taken that day in some shape or form or fashion in regards to each of us as a group and as individuals, all beginning at 8:46 a.m. As these words may fall upon a general audience, our friends, our neighbors, and those whom we serve, you may not be a first responder or a member of a fire or rescue group. or EMS or a law enforcement team. You are to know, just as we do, that you are very much a part of having lost a piece of something in your lives, just as we did and have done and continue to do for those affected by that tragic event. And in that, we all recognize this anniversary today on behalf of our lost comrades, those that were loved ones, friends, and community members to so many. Today, as we recall and turn to valued traditions, we recognize the significance of the fire department bell. For today, I trust in the years to come also, we shall hear the toilsome sound of the bell. And on behalf of our comrades who made the ultimate sacrifice 20 years ago, with the utmost levels of respect and honor, we together, all of us, recognize they made their last call. Their duties well done, for they have returned to quarters.
Never forget. 20 years ago, everyone knew what that meant. But today, I think it's starting to wane a little bit. Obviously not from you, but from many others. It's time to remind those who have forgotten and to teach those who are too young to even know, or weren't even born yet. The New Bern Firemen's Museum is in the history business. So the board of directors felt it was time to have a permanent memorial dedicated to all who perished that dreadful day, including 343 of our brother and sister firefighters. The memorial has been designed, is currently in production, and will be delivered and assembled on this site in the spring of 2022. The monument will be a 25,300-pound solid granite structure standing at the corner of Broad and Hancock Streets, the entrance to historic downtown New Bern. This polished granite monument will stand 11 feet tall and share this memorial park with our bell tower, which honors our fallen New Bern firefighters. And what will it look like? If you take the program and look on the front, that is the artist's rendering of what the overall structure will look like. And on the back is the sculpture that will reside inside the monument. A huge project, both logistically and financially for us, being made possible through the generosity of each of the members of the museum board of directors who have partnered with Cotton Funeral Home, museum staff, and 8 very generous residents of the city of New Bern, all of whom you will meet at the dedication of this new monument this spring. Date to be announced, watch our website and the local media. So now on behalf of Chief Robert Boyd of the New Bern Fire Rescue, Captain Morrison Brown of the New Bern Police Department, and myself and the staff of the Firemen's Museum, we thank each and every one of you for being here with us this morning. The museum staff would like to invite you for a cup of coffee and a donut under the tent behind me. And please, never forget, and you are dismissed. Thank you.